You're listening to Life with Mary Walter. Life
with Mary Walter.
Hello. How is everybody? Hold on, let me get rid of this. There we go. Oh, there we go. Okay. How you doing? Hello,
I'm doing
everybody.
good.
Welcome to Life with Mary Walter, a non-political podcast. Thank you so much for joining us. You can watch us live on YouTube or Getter, which hopefully you're doing right now. If you want to, you can always go back and watch old episodes. There's also Mary Walter Radio, our Thursday podcast, all on YouTube. All the videos are there, and you can go back and peruse. And if you really love us, like podcasts, please subscribe. We would appreciate that if you subscribe to the channel. That would make us super, super happy. And it would make us happy if you went back and watched old episodes or just let them run so that we get credit for it.
Check. 100%.
And the audio will be up on YouTube and Spotify. Excuse me, Apple and Spotify. I always screw that up. Apple Podcasts and Spotify within like 24 hours. I got a crazy bit of a night coming up, so hopefully within 24 hours we'll get that up there. So you can just go and listen. Just look for Mary Walter Radio. If you go to Apple, if you go to YouTube, if you put Mary Walter Radio in, it should bring up both of those, both of the podcasts. So tonight, State of the Union, James. And we're not talking politics, but Thursday we could do a post-mortem. We'll talk about what the president had to say. We'll do a little bit of that. And so one of the things, if you are new to the podcast, what we have some very loyal viewers, some great guys, great men and women, and they have a little bit of a contest to try to see who gets in first, who the first one is. And it's really weird, and I don't know how it started. I will put your comments up on the screen. If you are watching on YouTube or Getter, your comments will go up on the screen. Sometimes I'll read them. If it's something that we're discussing, I'll read them. But otherwise, I won't, because it's too confusing for people who are just listening to the audio. So who was first in?
Hey!
James A. First one in with, right on his heels, Al, saying, hi, Mary, and then saying, close but no cigar, James A. Sorry, Al. James got the cigar. He was the first one. You were hot on his heels, followed by Bill, Tina. And Tina, I always think I'm first because I'm dating the producer. I wish that's how it worked. Alas, It does not. It does not. So, how was your weekend? Good?
Good. Yes. Not the most eventful weekend, but a good weekend nonetheless.
Good. As you know, we did. Go ahead.
I was saying I could be ending up in a musical. Yeah. Well, Ringo's wanted to get into a musical. We did one previous to, when I did sound for one that long ago. Same theater company. She wants to be in the musical. So we've been working on singing, and she's doing great. And she got in. So she got a chorus part, and she got in. I don't know if I'm outing her, but yay, she got in. So then as I'm sitting there, just like a band parent, like just dragging her there,
right?
They're like, hey, would you be interested in like stage managing this? Because the girl who stage managed last time was like, I'm out. I can't do it this show. So you should stage manage this show. And I'm like, great, I'm getting volunteered for stuff. Great. I thought I was out. And then as we're sitting there, somebody wasn't there. They're like, can you read a line? I'm like, sure. So like, you'll read this guy, Seth. I'm like, okay. And then they're like, hey, we realized we're going to need a butler too. So the play is High Society, or the musical is High Society. So yeah, so they're like, they're fitting me for a costume. I'm like, I just came for the driving. Like I was just supposed to be the carry her purse, make sure her phone's good guy. Like but okay.
Well, that's how a lot of movie stars, were discovered back in the day. In the old malt shop, just having a soda. So. Yeah. Al says on his phone, his post is before James. Well, that's great. But on my thing, James's post is first, Al. Sorry. Dum, dum, dum. Way it came through to me. We'll have to just live with that.
Yes.
Yes, we'll have to. So that's congratulations, James, and to
Why,
Ringo
thank
too. That's great. That's
Yeah, Barry.
fantastic.
Yes, that's gonna be fascinating. It'll be musical.
Fun.
Yeah, it's fun, of course. Whatever. It's all good.
We should have a field trip. Everyone who can
Ooh.
should go to see you guys in the play.
Mhm.
When is it?
Ringo, if you're listening, type in. I think she knows the dates. I don't know the dates all by that. They're upper in May. So.
Oh, in May. Okay.
Yeah, in May. Yeah.
All right, so we have time.
We
And
have
it's
time.
going to
Yeah,
be
we have time to plan it. Yeah.
South Jersey down there.
No, Pennsylvania, like down near the airport. What's that? Delaware County, I guess.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that's how we drove out one time and went to Delaware by accident. Because we followed some construction. I went the wrong ramp, and she's going, "You're going the wrong way." I'm like, "No, we're fine. I know where I'm going. I've been on 95 my whole life. I got this." And then all of a sudden, we saw a Delaware trooper, the Delaware sign. We're like, "Huh, I could be wrong here."
Well, I got to tell you, I'd love to come see you, but that's like over 2 hours for me.
Oh, yeah, that's far for you. Yeah.
It's a 2-hour drive.
Yeah,
So.
yeah.
All right. Well, it sounded like a good idea.
Yeah.
Sounded like a fun thing
did.
to do. So, so that's exciting. That's really cool. You'll have to keep us up on that.
I will.
And let us know. And maybe we could post some pictures from it, or maybe some video if you get it from the play, from your big lines. How many lines do you have?
Oh, Egg Butler one is like 3 lines.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's all right. Maybe your mom and dad will go and they'll get us pictures and video some of it, and we could play it. So that'll be fun. So we did the show. We did the Mary Walter Radio podcast, our Thursday night podcast I did from North Carolina. We stayed at this place called Grayland. Remember, I took you on a video tour of like our room.
Yeah.
So
what a room.
what we found out is we know it was the estate for the man who was the first president of Reynolds, which R.J. Reynolds, because it's in tobacco country, right? And it's on Reynolda Road. So it's Reynolds with an A, Reynolda Road. And the actual Reynolds estate was across the street. And that's now a museum, a modern museum, modern art or whatever. So like big thing. And there's an entire Reynolda village down the road, which is where all the workers lived and where they had like their own shops, and they had like a little village because in the day there was nothing there.
Right.
So this was built in like the 1930s. It's huge. Now, the third floor was originally just attic space, but they had a fire in the 80s, so they finished it and they put rooms on the third floor. So we were on the second floor, which is the main, the original rooms to the house. Oh man! So you saw the room we were in, and if you want to see it, just go to YouTube and look at the Thursday's podcast, which was Thursday was the second. The second. Look at the podcast from the second, and it will have red writing, not green. Green is Life with Mary Walter, and you can see the bathroom. So the people who were in the room next to us, there was an adjoining door between our rooms, but it needs a special key to open it.
Right.
So everybody who was there was there for the wedding. Everyone who was staying there. So we went to their room. And they had this gorgeous wood-paneled, wood ceiling, wood walls, amazing room. And they had a beautiful bed. The bathroom was new in that room. So what we figured out is that room was the sitting room for the room we were staying in.
Oh.
It makes sense that they would have a door into that room, which was the sitting room.
Sure.
And that
it wasn't a hotel.
Well, this was not a hotel.
That's what I mean. It's not even, right. It's not really a hotel, right? So this was somebody's room in their area. Yeah, originally. Yeah.
Right. And then like we found a gentleman who gave us all the history of it. There is a room in this place. It's called Grayland Estate, Graylyn. It's amazing. There is a room where and it's not big, and they have a bar set up in this room. Normally there's just some chairs to sit in this downstairs on the first floor, where they just have rooms, just rooms. Yeah. The inside of this room is, I think it's the oldest wood interior in the world or something like that. It was brought from Damascus.
Wow.
The ceiling, the walls, and they shipped it over, and they put the whole thing back together again in this mansion.
That's bonkers. That's money.
So Friday night, there was a welcome party. We went on Thursday and partied with the family on Thursday night after the podcast, despite me going to bed. They got me out of bed. We went. And Friday, we were there, and their family priest came to perform the wedding in the marriage in North Carolina. So we know Father Mulaney now from 2 weddings, right? And he's a great guy. So
Nice.
we're with him at the bar on Friday night, and he looks up at the wall and he goes, "Why is there Arabic writing on the wall?" So we had to explain to him the history of it, but great guy. We had so much fun. There was a pool in this house. There was a pool, and all they did was they covered up the actual pool. Like, you still walk down into it, and it still says pool room, and you could see all the tiles, everything, and they just covered the floor, and they put a rug over it, and they have like receptions in there.
That's
crazy.
Awesome.
It's crazy.
Yeah, so bonkers. Yeah.
Yeah, it was very fun. So we did that, and Saturday was the wedding and the reception, and then Sunday we slept through breakfast every day. We never made it to breakfast. We never made it to breakfast. But my friend, the mother of the groom, she's a great baker. She made these cookies that they were giving out for the welcome dinner or for the welcome reception and for other things. So we just got a couple of bags of cookies, and we had them for breakfast with coffee every day.
That sounds delicious, actually.
We never went to dinner. We never paid to go out to dinner, because one night we went with my friend, who is part of the Mary Walter radio group on Facebook, Mary McCandless. She was my best friend in 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade.
Oh.
And so we met up because she lived 10 minutes from the estate where we were staying. And so we went out to get barbecue with her one night, because we're in North Carolina, so you got to get good Southern barbecue. So we did that. But we managed to never really pay for a meal and eat pretty much nothing healthy.
Oh.
All right. So this show is May 20th and 21st and June 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. All right.
Thank you, Ringo.
Okay. So speaking of entertainment, did you see that? Does anybody go to the movies anymore? Before the pandemic, we used to go to the movies. And I think COVID kind of killed movie theaters, right?
I mean, there's fewer. I mean, there's some, I think some people still go to movies. I've seen a couple movies since the pandemic started and now ended or whatever. But, I've seen in that time period, I've seen some movies. And a couple of the times it was barren. A couple of times, though, shockingly.
Yeah.
So it's kind of hard to figure it out, I mean, I went to a Blockbuster. I don't remember which one it was, a Batman or something. And there was nobody. And this was probably 2021. Okay. And there was just nobody. I mean, nobody.
I wanted to see 80 for Brady. It looks really cute.
Oh, I didn't see that. I thought that is.
It's based on a true story of these 4 women in their 80s who love Tom Brady, and they love football, and they want to go to the Super Bowl, and they somehow get into the Super Bowl and somehow meet Tom Brady.
Oh, that's awesome. That sounds funny.
It's Sally Fields, Rita Moreno. I forgot who the other. Who are the other women in that? I can't remember who the other women are. Is Mary Steenburgen in it? She's not 80, I don't think. But anyway, so it's a really good cast. So it looks and Tom Brady's in it. Gronkowski's in it. So it looks like a very, very fun movie.
A good buddy movie, yeah.
Yeah. So, but here's the thing. So we used to go. I hate going to the big mall theater. I hate going to the movies at the mall. I hate it. You walk in, there's screaming kids in an R-rated movie. Someone's got, their children in there. Phones are going off. Fights are breaking out. I hate it. Tons of kids. So there was a movie theater near us that was just a small movie theater, and it was owned by a family. And they I don't know how the hell they got 3 theaters in there, but they somehow did. It cost less to go to this theater. They had the kids are making popcorn, the other kids taking the tickets. So it was all family run, right?
Yeah.
And so we used to go there, but COVID killed them, and they wound up closing, and Kevin Smith bought it.
That's cool.
Yeah, because Kevin Smith doesn't live far from here.
Right.
And so Kevin Smith bought it, and I know he was showing all of all of his movies. He had a night where he showed all of his movies. A whole weekend. Clerks, it was just one after the next, Chasing Amy, Silent J and Silent Bob, all those movies.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on with it now, but it was the best theater, and I love going there. I hate going to the mall. I hate it. Well, here's another reason not to go. AMC Theaters, they're the largest movie chain. yesterday they unveiled a new pricing scheme, and it depends on which seat, where you sit, depends now on how much your movie ticket costs. So it's like an airplane, because like if you buy tickets in advance, in some places you could pick your seat. But the thing about that sucks is you now have to decide when you're at the ticket guy, you have to decide where you want to sit, which sucks because there could be a jerk sitting next to you, right? Or there could be a group of kids. So if you walk into the theater and you see there's a group of kids right here, I don't want to sit right next to them. I may want to sit a row behind them, a little bit off to one side. I want to sit near them.
Yeah.
So now it's a crapshoot, and you have to pay more for center seats, and then you pay less as you get away from the center.
Right.
And you pay less, obviously, for the first row.
Right. So, that's right. Nobody wants to be in the front row.
Right, because you watch like this.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to be in the second row either, because you're watching like this, and then the third row, and the fourth.
I watched Saving Private Ryan from the front row.
Ugh.
I walked in the very beginning, not sober, to the very beginning. It's those days. And the very beginning, if anybody knows the movie, like the D-Day. So there's a big beginning where they're in the cemetery. I missed that when I first went to see the movie theater. And we walked in, I want to stress again, like Cheech and Chong, and then walk through the crowd to get to our, what turned out to be front row, almost center seats for Saving Private Ryan. And just in the middle of the battle, we're walking down toward it. And then realizing the gravity of this probably wasn't the best movie, to be all like Cheech and Chong. This is probably maybe we should have thought this out. Yeah, but there we were, first row, just, and you can't turn away from that movie. I mean, you're in the whole time, so your neck is just shot.
Yeah, that's a good movie. Wow. So that's what they're doing now. Tina says she wants to see A Man Named Otto. That looks like a good one too. That's Tom Hanks, and Tom Hanks is a limousine liberal, so I won't go see his movies. Jane Fonda and Lily Tomlin. I thought it was Mary Stewart. Lily Tomlin and Sally Fields and who else did I say the other one was? But they're all in that movie. So it just looks like such a great movie.
Side note, just because you said it, and it's not a political show, but you know who that limousine liberal's one of his best friends is?
Bruce Springsteen.
No.
Oh.
No. What other actor? Tim the Toolman Taylor, who's
really?
They're super close friends.
Really?
Yeah, I saw him talking about that's we should be living in that world where you can have friends. He goes, sometimes we have debates and we're adults and we talk and we do we do a thing, but we're never at each other's throats and we never hate each other for what we believe in. He goes, yeah, we hang out all the time. They have lunch. I'm like, yeah.
That's interesting.
That's how it should be, right? Because Hollywood never used to be so segregated, right? Never used to be like that. And in fairness, they do push out conservatives pretty hard, but I mean, it should never have been that way. So we should just politics and acting's acting. That's why in my brain I never like the mix,
There you go.
Hanoi Jane has a pass for me, yeah.
James A says it's Hanoi Jane. With Hanoi Jane, it's a pass for me. Yeah, I hear you. That's the problem. It looks like a good movie, but I'm a big fan of Get Woke, Go Broke. They do it to us. They did it to Mike Lindell. So they're doing it to that poor cake baker out in Colorado. So I'm kind of like, Anyway, so that's what's up, and it will be in place for all showings after 4:00, which is good because I usually always went to a matinee anyway at 2:00 because there's less likely to be teenagers in it.
Right.
So less likely to be annoying.
Agreed.
Although it's more likely to be seniors who accidentally leave their phones on, and then the phone rings and they don't know how to turn it off. And
that's yeah.
There's that
snoring our phones. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So, So there's that.
Yeah. Well, that's neat. Dynamic pricing at the movies now.
Yeah, that's I never understood dynamic pricing before, but I guess now I do. They do that with rents in the Washington D.C. area, so you can go online and look at apartments. And you say, oh, it's this much for, this, and they have this many apartments available, and so much, and then you can go on a week later and they've all changed in price.
Yeah.
So if more come on the market, then the prices go down. And if one gets rented, then the prices of the other ones go up.
Yeah.
It's so annoying. It's so hard to plan. It's really super hard to plan when you're doing that.
Yeah. It's ridiculous. It totally is. We really lucked out and got great landlords, and they didn't suddenly decide to re-up to what the going rate was around here.
Mm-hmm.
We might not have had an apartment.
Well, yeah,
we just
nobody
lucked
can
out and have great landlords who are like, yeah, it was here.
Yeah.
We'll keep it there.
Nobody can afford a house. Quick
No.
programming note, just so everybody knows. Tomorrow, I did it today. Tomorrow, I will be filling in for David Webb on Sirius Patriot Channel 125 if you have Sirius XM Radio. 9 a.m. to noon Eastern, I will be on for David Webb tomorrow. And then Thursday, we do our podcast. And then Saturday, I will be on the Wendy Bell Show on Newsmax TV. Airs at 4:30 on Saturday, 3:30 on Sunday, and then 6 a.m. on Monday. So it airs 3 times. All right. So a little bit of a crazy week. And then I go going skiing, and hopefully we'll come back in one piece without a broken leg this time.
I was just going to say, how many limbs are you bringing back from this ski trip?
Yeah, I can't imagine, knock on wood, that I would... the odds of me doing it again are pretty slim,
Yeah, agree.
All right. A study was done at the University of Cambridge in England, and they found that the theory of what's called affordance perception, which I'd never heard of, plays a powerful role in the disparity between men and women when it comes to doing things around the house, the household chores.
Okay.
It's been persistent that women have always done an outsized percentage of the chores. And everybody thought, well, when women go to work, now that women are working full time, that men would help pick up the slack at home, and that women wouldn't come home and have to work a full-time job at home keeping the house. And that's not what happened. Women still do the bulk of the chores. Men do not.
Yeah.
All right. So even though both are working full-time jobs, they're still doing the bulk of the chores. So the authors of the study said the affordance theory says that when people experience objects and situations as having implicitly attached, having actions. So they take objects and situations and they apply actions to them. So when you see a certain object or a certain thing or situation, you automatically associate an action with that. For instance, they say men and women have been trained by society to see different possibilities for action, even if you look at the same object. They give an example. A woman can see a kitchen counter, and the implied action for her is to wipe the kitchen counter down. Men just look at a dirt-covered counter, and they don't connect it with cleaning it at all. Like the impulse never says, clean that counter.
That's funny. Because in my head, I had like, oh yeah, guys see dishes and walk right past them, right? And that was
exactly
such a routine thing. You just see dishes piled up and you walk right past.
Exactly. Tina says, I'm the breadwinner at this point, and James is the cleaner. And then she says, just kidding, we both do the chores. But if you're not working full time, that should really be on you to do the chores.
I pick up way more now than and not because she's lazy, just because, like you said, like I did today, I cleaned the kitchen and I started some laundry and tidied up a little bit. I'm here. I'm on the computer. So, but if she's around and I'm not, she cooks dinner or she'll do whatever. I mean, we don't even have like a you do these, I do those list per se.
Right.
I'm pretty good about just giving up the chores. But that's because I'm on my second time around. I've already had a divorced marriage. So I remember what it's like to also, not be as good of a person. So
right.
As good of a
I'm
spouse.
very blessed in that department. My hubby is phenomenal. And I think that's because we've worked split shifts pretty much our entire life. He works days, I worked evenings. I didn't get home till 1 o'clock in the morning, and we would literally pass each other. So we didn't eat together during the week. We didn't, so I would always clean up after myself because I would eat before I went to work. And he would come home, and then when he would eat, he would clean up after himself. And so there was always, we were living together, but kind of living separately because of our work schedules,
Right. Yeah.
and we'd be together on weekends. But when I was in Washington, my husband, every single Thursday, because I would come home on Friday, every single Thursday, he would clean. He would clean the bedroom. He cleaned the main floor. He cleaned the kitchen. He vacuumed. Now, does he clean to the depth that I do? No. He vacuums the big stuff, but I'm like in the corner with the little thing and like that tool, that long skinny thing on the end of the like I'm in there getting all that stuff out, like he doesn't see the dust on the lights, like but no complaints whatsoever. He still cleans. So I'm not complaining that he still cleans. James A says, if you do a bad job at something, they tend to pick it up. And so it's done to their standards. Again, it takes me a lot longer to clean because I'm in there because we have like a lot of decorative grill work and wood and stuff like that I'm there with the Q-tip, with the Murphy's oil.
I can imagine you there with a Q-tip.
And the Murphy's oil soap. He'll just wipe it down. And I'm like, no, look at all the dust in there. Oh, I can't do, if I'm cleaning, I can't do it halfway. I got to do a good job. So they say that these deep-seated gender divides in domestic perception can change with the help of several societal interventions, including, they say, so men should get longer paternity leaves. I guess that they're used to being home, so they can get used to doing household chores more often. So I guess the theory is while she's trying to put her body back together and feed the baby and take care of all that, the men can do the cleaning and cooking and laundry and get used to doing those things, allowing her to recover from childbirth.
Right.
Which is interesting.
If he has to churn some butter, go for it.
That's right.
Churn butter.
So your grandma's rocking the baby, breastfeeding and churning butter at the same time. Right?
Those days must have been bonkers.
You had a lot less other crap though that you had to do. Do you know what I mean? There was less stuff to be done.
Well, that's true. You weren't driving your kids to school, and you weren't getting soccer every Thursday, and band on Mondays. It wasn't. Yeah, it's true.
100%. And your husband usually worked in the field attached to the house, right?
Right.
So he would come home for lunch, and he would, it was a totally different way of life. Yeah, you were together as a unit a heck of a lot more than I think we are now.
Right. Yeah.
And you didn't have to go food shopping because the food was what you grew.
Right. Yeah. Right.
And if you did, it's because you lived in a city or a very sizable town. And so again, the traveling wasn't the same. You didn't have to get in the car and drive 10, 20 minutes to get to the store or to do it. You walked down the street or you sent the kids.
Right. Yeah. To get your cigarettes.
You made your own.
Yeah. You rolled your own. Right.
Let me see. Tina says he takes care of everything when I'm not there, including the animals. I trust he'll do a good job. That's nice. Al says, my parents taught us there are jobs for girls and jobs for boys. What a shock when I grew up.
Yeah, right. Right.
My parents tried that. They tried because I was the only girl. I had to get up after dinner while my father and my brothers sat, and my mother and I had to clean the table and put the dishes away, load the dishwasher. And my mother would always be like, what? I know. And my mother, now you know why I rebelled against all that. My mother she would be like, well, it's not like you have to wash them. You're just scraping them and putting them in the dishwasher. I'm like, they're just sitting there. What the heck? They don't have polio. Make them get up.
Right.
But my parents were very much like that girl job. They were very, very, very old-fashioned. Yeah. Very old-fashioned.
Look, that was a relatively established thing through the 80s, I feel like. There was still that sort of way of life, right? That was really a thing. I know, plenty of times. I do find, though, too, that couples can like more chores, like certain chores better than others. Like in a perfect world, she's perfectly happy vacuuming and I'm perfectly happy doing dishes. Right? Yeah. All things being equal. Like I'll do either and she'll do either. But if we're both like, let's get some stuff done, she'll gravitate towards certain chores and I'll gravitate to other chores.
100%. I mean, he still takes the garbage out.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'll take the garbage. We used to have a thing that you push the garbage cans in out to the street, and someone stole it with our garbage cans.
Savages, bunch of savages.
So now you got to drag the garbage can down, which is why he usually does it. But I'm perfectly capable of doing it. He's like, I'll do it, but right. You're right. You divide whatever works for you in your household. Yep. They did their study during the pandemic, and they said that the study led to 2 questions that needed explanation. The first had to do with disparity. Why do women continue to shoulder the load at home despite working and earning more usually than men in modern society? we're at that point where women are also working more and bringing home more money than a lot of men are. But so they're still, though, doing the bulk of the chores, the household chores. And the second one focused on invisibility. Why do many men think the division of labor at home is equal, even when it's not?
Well,
one of the lead studies authors said many point to the performance of traditional gender roles along with various economic factors, such as women taking flexible work for childcare reasons. The fact that stark inequalities in domestic tasks persisted during the pandemic when most couples were trapped inside, and that many men continued to be oblivious to the imbalance means that this is not the full story. They say humans perceive things they see as inviting or affording certain actions. Some people may see a tree and think, I could climb that. Someone else looks at the same tree and says that they can't. And researchers say the same thing is true for objects in the kitchen. One person sees a spatula as an egg cooking tool, and the other, well, their friends don't know what to do with it.
Yeah.
Very true.
Yeah. I do think some of this is training. I think some guys just are poorly led to believe that, and they just don't see it, right? I mean, like you said, that part of their nature, they just don't see it,
Yeah.
I don't know how many times I used to hear, like, how are you walking over your dirty clothes? And I'm like, because I'm not paying attention to them. I don't know. I didn't even notice the clothes I was walking over. I just would routinely not think about it. I'd throw my clothes on my side of the bed and then not care. I had to learn to care, right? Like, I had to learn, like, oh, yeah, it's probably bad. I'm not a bachelor, or.
So would you like to know how I broke my husband of that?
How?
So
no.
we were living in, and for the beginning, I was driving to Philadelphia. We were living in Philly, and I was working in New Jersey, and I was doing the drive late at night. And we were both uncomfortable with me driving past, Northeastern Correctional State on I-95 at 1:00 in the morning. We didn't think that was a good thing. God forbid something happens. So we moved closer to where I was working in New Jersey, and he drove to Philly because he went in the morning. So I would come home from work at, like, depended on what my hours happened to be, 11 o'clock at night, 12 o'clock, but it was very close to home. It was a 10-minute drive, so it was very close.
Right.
And I will never forget one time, and we had upstairs in this townhouse we were renting, had 2 master suites. So both had the bathrooms inside, just 2 bedrooms. And in between them was a big hall closet that, just opened the door, those bifold doors. And there was a washer and dryer, was where the laundry was, which was perfect because it was between the 2 bedrooms. So our laundry would pile up in that hall, the walk between the 2 rooms. And I got tired of walking over piles and piles and piles of clothes. I was the only one who was doing laundry. I'm like, does he not walk over these clothes? Does he not see them? So I did my laundry and I left his in the hall just to see how long it would take him to figure it out. I just wanted to see how long this was going to take. What's the learning curve here? I have cats that learn faster. And finally, one night he said to me, he goes, hey, I don't have any clean underwear. And I looked at him, I go, that's really funny because I do. And I go, I think all your underwear is on the floor in the hall. You've been walking over it every single day. I think that's a pile of your laundry. That's your underwear.
That's so beautifully passive aggressive. Oh yeah.
But it worked. It really worked. So
I love it.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Tina says, tell me, I need ideas. There you go, Tina, right there. So, and if he leaves the toilet seat up, the other thing, if you late at night when you go to the bathroom and you fall in, ladies, what you do, since you're now wide awake, is you get up. I walked into the bedroom. I turned the light on. I woke him up. And he's like, what's going on? I go, come with me. And I took him into the bathroom. I go, I am awake now because I have a wet butt. So I thought you should be awake with me.
Oh, you had to bring that up, huh? Oh,
it worked.
Oh,
it worked.
No.
It worked. So there you go.
Yeah, that's another tough one. That seat one. I'm pretty good about a lot one. I've gotten better about laundry, but that seat is rough.
Well,
it's so tough.
There you go. The other thing, you could just keep a squirt bottle, and every time you fall in, you just go to the bedroom and squirt him with it. And then he's like, what's going on? I go, well, I'm wet. You should be wet too.
I feel like I'm going to get squirted soon.
Follow me for more husband training tips, ladies.
It's got to be her sending your emails and your letters about what do you need Mary to teach you to train your husband on. She'll come up with a way, I'm sure.
Exactly. I got a lot of them, and it works. It works. The only thing is you better have a relationship where you can laugh at each other and at yourself. If you cannot laugh at each other and laugh at yourself, it's not going to work. It's going to lead to a fight.
Right.
Did not lead to a fight with us because he just looked at me and I was like, and then he just laughed at me. So.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, you gotta be able to laugh. Let's see. Al says, Tina says, I love these ideas. And Al says, you get a seat that goes down by itself. Well, I would assume those cost money. We have like the slow close ones. You flip it down and it takes slow. Right. But you have to still flip it down. Still got to do it. Okay. Let's talk about millennials. Millennials were born between 1981 and 1996. And a new poll showed that 35% of millennials across America rely on their parents to pay their bills.
Oof.
I mean, come on. You're born in 1981. How old are you? 81, 91, 01, 11. You're 40 some odd years old.
Yeah, you're in the 40s.
81 to 91 to 01 to 11. Yeah, 40 some odd years old.
Yeah.
And you're still relying on your parents to pay your bills? I mean, the leading edge is in their 40s, right? And then it goes down from there. But really? Relying on your parents to pay your bills? And they were talking about this on Fox. They said, if you're a millennial, your parents are trying to retire and you're taking their money to go out and get a job. It's disrespectful. But here's the thing, the parents give it to them.
Well, right.
So why is there a failure to launch? Why can't they make it on their own? Why do you think?
Big college degrees and no jobs. And they're fixated on their career job, not getting a job.
But
plenty of people have gone and gotten degrees and then gone, well, I guess I can't find a lawyer gig. I guess I'm going to have to take a gig doing something else.
Right.
Not in my field.
And I vividly remember my father telling me I had 1 year before I had to start paying my student loans back. They give you a year from when you graduate to when you start paying your loans back. And my father just looked at me. He goes, here's the deal. My name's not on those loans. Well, I think he had a co-sign. No, it was 18. He's like, my names aren't on those loans. So when they come due, I don't care if you have to screw caps on toothpaste tubes. You're going to do what you have to do to pay those back. And I really don't care if you like the job or not, because you're not coming home to live with us. And then they softened on that. They're like, if you want to live at home, that's fine. But we paid rent. I mean, it wasn't a lot of rent. It was nothing, right. But it was still that act of having to do something every single month and have a payment every single month. So at one point I was paying rent, had a car payment, and had a student loan payment to my parents. And that's called being an adult. So why is it so hard for millennials to do it? Millennials are making the argument that the cost of living in the US has gone up. Yeah. Well, listen, when I graduated from college, it was during a recession. It was a horrible time to graduate. There were no jobs. The only people who got jobs were the engineers and the accountants. That was it. Nobody else got jobs.
Right.
I didn't have a job first coming out. I had to take whatever I could get, and that's what I did. Mm-hmm. But because of when I graduated, I started out lower down on the salary totem pole because it was the middle of a recession.
Right.
It was a bad recession. And, my parents were like, well, sorry, we couldn't get you what we wanted to get you as a graduation gift, but here you go, which I thought was very nice. They didn't have to get me anything. They helped pay for my college. Didn't expect anything, But life is hard. Sometimes you graduate when times are good, and sometimes you graduate when times are tough. It's called life.
Mm-hmm.
And they say
exactly
inflation isn't making paying the bills any easier. Well,
of course not.
Sorry, but you voted for Biden as a block, most of you, so you get the government you pay for. Quit whining. Had you voted for Trump, maybe you'd have a good paying job. They also say getting a college degree is increasingly necessary to stay afloat in competitive job markets, but the cost of attending college has gone up as well. And there's reasons for that, and you can figure it out if you look at the history of things, but, government taking over the student loan business to give you a loan because banks weren't giving loans for things like, underwater basket weaving degrees for good reason. Well, they gave you a loan for your useless degree. You're the one who chose to get a useless degree. It's nobody else's fault. You got to pay back.
I mean, even a useful degree now in some of these educations is tough. I mean, what your college loans are going to come out to be and what you're going to make for even some of these serious jobs is really complicated.
Yeah.
You're paying back a lot of money to get $75,000 your jobs or whatever,
Yeah. Tina says the only thing I depend on my mom for is Netflix. By the way, that's going to end soon because they're stopping the password sharing.
Yeah.
It's going to be tied to an IP. So that's going to be the end of that. Anything else is my responsibility, though. My family rely on me, Disney Plus and other streaming services. Yeah, it's all Disney Plus. You got to get rid of that. Stop patronizing Disney. You see that new woke thing that got going on with the Loud family and white people are bad and all that stuff going on. Don't give Disney money.
I don't pay attention to any of that. I just watch Star Wars.
Don't give Disney money. Al says at the age of 10, I was paying 50 cents a week for room and board. At the age of 10, dear Lord.
Is that coming out of your allowance?
Your
allowance is $2, but now you're getting $1.50, buddy. You got to pay rent, which probably is a great lesson, by the way.
When I was a kid, $2, I got like 25 cents or 50 cents when I was like 10 years old for my allowance. And I had to do things like make my bed and keep my room clean. That was stupid stuff, Yeah. But 10 cents, what are you, 120 years old now? I was paying 50 cents a week for room and board. It's like they had him working in the mines or something.
Sweatshop over there.
James says, many think they need to go to a 4-year university. I took my core classes at community college and transferred over. So smart, such a 100%. Smart thing to do.
Yeah, 100%.
And he said he saved thousands and ended up double degreed. That is so smart. I'm really surprised. That's a great idea, James. Al said I worked 6 hours every Saturday in a machine shop making bearings for tanks. At 10?
Maybe get away with that then.
Did you grow up barefoot wearing knickers? I just like. Is he what? Are you? You sound like you're one of the little rascals. Right?
Yeah, totally.
Dear Lord, Al.
Whew.
Holy Christmas.
That sounds like risky jobs for a 10-year-old, doesn't it? Working in a ball bearing factory.
Yeah. He said we were dirt poor. I get it, but wow. Holy Christmas, that's awful.
Oh, I think my dad was working in a steel mill at 16.
That's different than 10.
But still a steel mill when you're 16? That's pretty.
Okay. When I was 8 years old, maybe 10. I started at about 8. My dad lost his job and he started his own business and he was making speed controls for various motors. Okay. And so he had these things he called idiot boards. These are circuit boards. And I had a circuit board all put together and then I had a blank circuit board and all the pieces. So I had to put the pieces in where they belonged, flip it over, solder it, wait for the solder to cool and cut off all the loose ends. And I was doing that at like 10 years old.
That's funny.
I was doing it in front of the TV, but I did have a soldering iron at the age of 10. So
I watched this. I've mentioned the show. I watched this YouTube channel called JHS. It's a pedal company. And the guy, Josh Scott, who runs the pedal company, did a history on their company. And he talked about like out of his house, him and his wife, like in the beginning doing it. And then they had family friends that were their first employees. And like the one son who was like 10 at the time was like breadboarding stuff. And, you're like, they're just, making stuff, Just doing it to get by. A small business trying to, start. But isn't it funny how you can do some of that stuff?
Well, the best part was it was lead solder, so I was just breathing that in.
Oh yeah.
Again, and I was drinking well water in New Jersey out of a hose between the lead solder and that.
We all did that too. Hose water. I drank so much hose water.
The hose water isn't any different than the water in your house. It's just coming through a hose.
Coming through some hose, yeah. You think right. That, yeah. But it's New
Jersey. Al said, at the age of 8, I had my own business where I cut the neighbors' lawns for $10 a pop. Good for you. At the age of 8, though, man, that's an insurance risk. I'll tell you that.
That's right.
My rent was paid to my mother. Well, you learned a good work ethic.
Yeah.
So that's good.
Sure.
Polls also found that 63% of millennials and Gen Z feel burned out. They're burned out.
Mm-hmm.
I get it. I totally get it. But you still got like 20 more years of working ahead of you. So buckle down, monkey.
Yeah, burned out or not. Feel those feelings because they're not going anywhere. Life still moves on.
Exactly. Let's see.
Yeah.
Many millennials also report not knowing how to accomplish certain tasks that were once expected of adults. Some of those tasks that they say they can't do. They can't do an oil change. I used to know how to do an oil change, but it's really hard on the new cars now. I mean, back in the day, my father, because I had brothers, so I just got thrown in with that. Changing a tire. I know how to change a tire. How to tie a tie. How to jump start a car. I know how to do that, but it scares me. And how to sew a hole. Of course, we learned that in school. They say because everything is digitalized and specialized, many of these essential tasks have become not as necessary to know. So then they find out that they don't know how to do it when they need to do it. You should know how to change a tire. Come on.
The tire being the biggest one of those. Oil, you probably be harder to do now. You can't do things.
Yeah.
You can't even check transmission fluid anymore. Transmissions are sealed, so there's no dipstick for that anymore. You can't do your own tune-up. Like I remember I used to have a 68 Dodge Charger that I took the gas tank out of and had a leak. Like when it had a leak. And by the way, I know almost nothing about cars. So that's how easy it was to take the gas tank out of a 68 car. I'm sure I can't change the oil in my 2014. You know?
Right. Yeah, no, I'm sure you can't. When I was in college, I had my junior year, my father made me, I lived a mile from the train station. So if I wanted to take the train to school, and I lived off campus, and you couldn't walk to campus, it was too far. So my father told me to make friends and get rides, right? So that's what I had to do. So to get a car my sophomore year, my mother said, come on, she needs a car. This is ridiculous. She's spending so much time just waiting for rides. She's, trying to study and do everything else. So my father made me buy the Chrysler Valiant, Emma the Gutless Wonder, we used to call her. She had one of those energy savers on it. So if you push the gas pedal too far to go too fast, it would this light would come on, and it was like a governor. So going up a hill, because I lived in the Watchung Mountains, so you go up a hill and kids on bicycles would pass you because you're like,
yeah.
Come on, Emma.
Yeah.
And he made me buy it from him. I had to buy Emma the Gutless Wonder from my father.
Good time.
Tina says, I know how to change the oil. It's easier than changing a tire. I don't know if you could do that anymore in these newer cars. I don't know if you can do that.
Even if you get the oil out, you have to learn how to reset all the things, and it's a real electronic mess.
Yeah, it is. It's a hard thing. So, all right, very quickly, I got one more story. This will make a lot of men happy. This is the third. This study was done, best I can tell, in 2017, 2019, and then recently in 2022 or 2023, and it just came out now. But they keep telling us that dad bods are more attractive to women. Now, I don't know if that's true or it's just a bunch of men just positing that and pushing it over and over and over again so that women are like, yeah, cool, dad bods. That's what we want.
I hope that's not true, but maybe.
Why do you hope it's not true?
Oh, I like the idea that, because I'm not into overly fit women. I mean, there's got to be a segment of the population that really believes that for women too, because I'm not like the wants to see a girl like all built and super decked out, like we just, like we're gym rats. That's not I want to be in shape. I know Ring and I just started going to the gym now. So, I mean, we're trying to get in shape, but I'm not worried to be buff.
Right.
I don't feel a need for her to be, quote unquote, buff on any level. And for us, it's about health, not about a look,
Right.
I'm not
and that's
attracted to her
good.
in any way now. I just think we need to be healthier because we shouldn't die.
Well, what I love about this is that, the study claims that 23 million men in the U.S. claim to have a dad bod. 71% of those men believe it's universally accepted. Women accept it. They accept the dad bod. And I just love for men, it's called a dad bod. It's called women get saddlebags. Men get dad bods. And it's so cute.
Yeah,
and
you used to be pleasantly plump.
Yeah, that's the other thing too. I remember Sears used to had a department for husky boys.
Right? Yeah.
Husky boys department. Remember that?
Nobody wanted to shop in a husky department. No.
No, but I'll tell you, now it is universally acceptable. I was looking, so I was looking online for some clothes, and believe it or not, Limited Express is still around, and they've got great suits for men, and they have really nice dressy clothes that I realize I have aged out of the Limited Express demographic a long time ago. But they have very nice dresses and things like that aren't crazy. But what I notice is a lot of young women now, everything's the bare midriff, the bare midriff. Like that's the big thing now, the holes, the bare, all this, and the top and the bottom, a little bit bare midriff. But they're all fat. They're all fat. And apparently it's acceptable and it's okay.
Mom bod, yeah. Well, look at all the, and I think on some level it can go too far. But look at some of the real women they're starting putting in advertising, and I've heard some women say like, "Hey, that's good because now I know what I'm going to look like in this."
Right,
yeah, that could be taken too far when you're putting fat models in Sports Illustrated. That's probably a dilemma.
No, because if it's not about the sex and the women, it's supposedly about the swimsuits because it's a sports magazine, right?
But you would think sports would be about fitness, right? Like,
true.
You can't compete in sport. And as I'm saying, like, I don't think it's bad if you want to do it in Express or some company that has sizes for those women. You want to show models for those women. There's plenty of beautiful women that are bigger. That's great. But you start getting to things like fitness magazines, and you're just like, well, but we're going to have big, chunky models. I'm like, guys or girls, by the way. I wouldn't want to see fat dudes running around Sports Illustrated. Like, what's he doing? Like, huffing on the beach? Like, there's no... Doesn't make any sense. Inclusion's great when it makes sense, but as we both know, where woke culture can go too far, right? I think in principle it was probably fine till dumb white dudes hijacked it and took it way too far, right? I mean,
well, I always said that I wanted them to make workout videos with women like me, like a little overweight, not necessarily even overweight, but I don't have a six pack. I'm never going to have a six pack. I'm never going to have, like these iron thighs or anything along those lines. Show like a normal person doing the exercises like that. That's kind of cool. And when I say they're all fat, not the models are, but in general, the younger generation that wears this stuff that should be young enough to wear bare midriffs with, gowns and everything else are usually 30 pounds too heavy.
Right.
But that's the stuff. That's what's accepted now is, you got Lizzo out there saying, no, it looks great. And I'm like, oh, no, it doesn't. Put that back. So,
and yet it's not hard for her to find a boyfriend or a girlfriend.
Well, Lizzo's a gazillionaire. So yeah, there you go.
I think even before she probably did okay. I'm betting she did fine.
I'm going to sneeze the whole bunch.
Good. That's
read
fine.
This.
Oh yeah. Didn't you folks... that hairy guy in Speedo, New Jersey Beach. Oh yeah, the hairy guy you have from up north.
The hairy man of Manasquan.
Manasquan, right?
The hairy man of Manasquan
is a picture photo
that I took because we had a shore house. We were at the Jersey Shore. We had a shore house, and we were on the second floor. It was a private beach, and the first floor was a private beach club, and they had like a little cafe where they did breakfast and lunch. And our porch went over the back of that area, right? Because we had a covered area. Our deck was the covered area on the second floor. And they also had, the outdoor showers. They also had indoor showers, but they had the outdoor showers where you like take the kids and like just hold them under it and strip them down and take the sand out of them and everything, That we noticed Parade of Naked Babies would start at like 4 in the afternoon.
Right.
Parents like try to get all the sand out of them before they get washing off all the beach clothes. So this day when we saw this, it had to be 9,000 degrees with typical Jersey 99% humidity. And it was one of those days where the wind was out of the west and it was like someone opened an oven door. There was a breeze, but it was so hot.
Right.
And we had friends over and somebody goes, oh my gosh, look at that guy. He's wearing a sweater on the beach. So we had binoculars. So we're looking. It was not a sweater. This man was very hirsute. It was quite hairy.
He was a bear.
it was, his wife must have shaved like where his t-shirts would come, so that from the t-shirt down, like where the like, sleeve would end on his short sleeve shirt, from there down he must have shaved, but from there up it was super super hairy, and then shaved around where his neck is so that it wouldn't be sticking up in the back, and it looked like he was just wearing a black sweater. That's what it looked like. So he came up and must have gotten something out of his car, and he's walking back, and he's walking right under where we were. So there we are at the cat. It was back in the day of the camera, like, oh, and we got a picture of the hairy man of Manasquan. So every Memorial Day weekend, I post the picture of the hairy man of Manasquan, who probably is a silverback by now.
Yeah.
And that is my harbinger of summer, is the hairy man of Manasquan.
It is something. I knew a buddy who was pretty hairy. I mean, like, like we thought he was a bear. And I remember when you first posted that picture, I sent it to my buddy. I'm like, you're good.
This guy's worse.
We should never make fun of you again, man. Oh yeah. And my friend literally looks pretty hairy. Like when you think of like hairy guy with a hairy back, that's my buddy. This guy, it looks like has a medical problem. I mean, he really is furry. Either that or he's so white and his hair is so dark that it just is uber pronounced.
Now, he had that Italian look about him. Like that.
Yeah, that's true. That's right. He's not that white if I remember the picture, right? He is kind of tanner, isn't he?
Italian. Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, men report that their dad bods help increase their self-esteem. There isn't a woman alive who said, yeah, the extra fat makes me feel good. I feel so much more confident in myself. It's such a guy thing. I wish I possessed half of a male ego. The male ego is phenomenal. It's incredible. 48% say they learned to accept themselves, and about the same number said having a dad bod made them less concerned about how they appear to others. Women, in the meantime, I'm waiting for the burkini to become acceptable so that I can wear a burqa to the beach, and cover up everything I want to cover up.
Well, does anybody know comedian Bert Kreischer? One of my favorite comedians. He does his whole stand-up routine shirtless. He's a big, bigger beer drinking kind of Florida guy, right? Yeah, he does his stand-up shirtless. And like now like his fans wear like the naked shirt t-shirt. You know what I mean? Like
yes.
Or they take their shirts off at the show. Like it's so strange. Like he should not have that confidence, but he 100% does in every way.
It's men are incredible. You could see a man, this fat guy in a Speedo, and his stomach hangs over so much it looks like he's wearing nothing. And he'll be like, damn, I look good, as he struts along the beach, right? Thinking he looks good, criticizing the women, like, oh, she should lose some weight. And he keeps going.
That's me minus the criticizing the women. I could Speedo right now. I would literally do this show shirtless if you told me to, with zero concern what people say.
No.
It doesn't make any sense because by the way, as you can tell, I can push these together. I am not tiny.
Yeah. Jerry says, I love the hairy man pick. It's so North Jersey. It is. It screams Staten Italy. It 100% screams Staten Italy, doesn't it?
Yeah, totally. I've never heard that. I know exactly what you mean.
They go from Brooklyn to Staten Italy to Monmouth County, New Jersey. That is the progression of the Benny. That's how they make their migratory path to Jersey. They've come with all of their Staten Italy glory. 78% say that a man, both men and women combined, 78% of men and women who answered this survey reported that a man with a dad bod is a sign that they're comfortable in their own skin. Wow.
I said I want to get healthy so I won't die, not because I'm concerned.
Yeah, it's incredible. God, like I said, if I could have half of a male ego, if I could just have a transplant and get half of a male ego, life would be so much easier. There are so many things I wouldn't have to, because my bag of give a Fs is pretty much depleted right about now at this point in my life. So I have to spend them sparingly, and I would spend them. It would free up a whole lot of stuff I spend them on. So,
well, guys have stopped just being so dumb and so critical. Like it's I almost think it sounds weird. It's almost a tradition for guys to have that sense of like, you can criticize girls for doing being hypocrites, just doing exact same thing you're doing, right? It's so dumb. Like it's so dumb.
But it's a double standard.
Bob would be okay with a girl having 10 on or 20 on or not, and don't. I know guys that are literally like, they think they're going to get 10s and they're 245. And I'm like, are you out of your mind? Like, and they do get them, by the way, once in a while. But you know my point. Like, are you crazy? Like, how do you even have the hypocritical sense to think your big tubby monkey's going to run out there and get, runway models? Like, okay. But they do.
It's so I have friends. I had a friend once, God love him, and he worked in radio, and nice guy, really nice guy. And I have another friend who understands what it's like to be with someone who works in radio, because it's tough, right? And looks wise, I think they were both so well matched, and just two of the nicest people. Like, I just adore both of them. And I really thought they would be a good match. And he said, "Oh yeah, no, I'm not. I don't, I'm not that into her, Like, and he only had seen her, I hadn't told either, I hadn't told her. I just said to him, have my friend, she's nice, you're going to see her tonight. You should check her out. I really think that she's a good catch." And he's like, "Yeah, no." And this guy's living in his father's home, okay?
Right.
Because he works in radio. And I just wanted to say to him, dude, do you own a mirror? Like, sir, what do you think you're bringing to the table?
Right.
She is a very pretty woman. I thought she was very pretty. And I thought he was a good looking guy. I thought they were both like solid 6s, right? I thought they were good.
Yeah.
Nope, not good. And I'm like, she will put up with your crap, with your income, with the way you live. He's still single. In a shock to nobody. 20 years later, dude's still single.
Yeah.
I was just like, what are you bringing to the table?
But by the way, that radio thing with the looks is a brief side. I just showed this to Ringo. I won't name him. Somewhere down here in my area, there's a radio guy who has an amazing voice that you wish every radio guy had.
Right.
And
right.
she literally, like, he sounds like he's a big. You imagine a big, good-looking dude, right? Just a stud. He's a troll. An absolute troll. He looks, and I'm saying it not just to like, I mean, he actually does kind of like look like somebody out of Lord of the Rings. Like, he's a short, little, trolly guy who has this magical radio voice.
Right.
And I only know him well enough to think like, I wonder if, because if I'm right, he's single. That's what made me think of it. Like, I'll bet you he's picky.
Oh,
you know what I mean? Like, he's in radio. He thinks he's somebody, but I imagine that he's.
You'll have to tell me. You'll have to tell me who it is off the air.
Yeah.
It's kind of like Rick Astley.
Yeah.
Remember Rick Astley? Never gonna give you up, right? That guy.
Yeah, it's just a commercial.
Everybody thought it was like a big black guy, and it turns out to be like this little red-haired white guy.
Yeah. You're like, oh.
All right, we got to get out of here because the State of the Union is coming up. I have to do some homework. I got to watch that. I got to make notes. I have a show to prepare for tomorrow. So I will. This show will be up. The audio will be up on Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Hopefully within the next 24 hours. If I don't get it done tonight, I will do it tomorrow after the show. I will be on Sirius Patriot Channel 125 from 9 a.m. to noon. Tomorrow Eastern time. So if you have Sirius Patriot, check it out. If you don't, sorry. Let's see. And then Thursday, we have Mary Walter Radio, the podcast, the political podcast we do, 7:15. Watch on YouTube or Getter, just like you did for this show. And then Saturday, I will be on the Wendy Bell show on Newsmax Radio. Newsmax TV, 4:30 on Saturday in the afternoon, 3:30 on Sunday, and 6 a.m. on Monday. Whew. And then I'm gone for a week. So, and I will not be doing the podcast next week because of the time difference. It's so much earlier out there. It's going to be right in the middle of skiing. So, or hot tub time, depending. So I will not be doing the podcast next week. So love you anyway, but that's the way it's going to be. Chris Christie says, thank you. Hi, Chris. Glad to see you here. James says, wonder if we'll get any random Biden walkaways from the teleprompter. Just remember, every time he says, no joke, he's lying. When else? And he says, no joke. what does he say? He's got several tells, but one of them is no joke. And I'm not lying. He's lying.
Hey, I wonder if we get a talking to a dead person, like hey, Robert Kennedy, shout out for. I love Jack and Robert. They're great guys.
Well, watch, look and see if he has that weird faraway look. He's going to have a weird look in his eyes. His eyes are going to be really wide because I swear they give him something to get him through it because it's past his bedtime. So I'm sure he's had a nap. I'm sure he's slept, which I get. I understand that.
I could use that. Yeah,
I understand that. But they must give him something because he's so animated during these speeches when he has to read the teleprompter. But yet when he's like walking towards the press, he can't answer a question. And he's got that really slow, old man look about him.
Yeah. Well, if it turns out to be cocaine, he's going to be my favorite person. Yeah, Thorazine. Yeah, you got the Thorazine look.
The Thorazine shuffle. Yeah.
Yeah. I just said, no, honestly, if it turns out to be cocaine they're giving him, he's going to be my favorite president ever. I'm just saying. I've been waiting for a cokehead president, so.
Is that what you, that's what you need. Okay.
That's what right. That's what our country needs.
I mean, could he do any worse?
Yeah,
could he do worse?
That's right. Can't do any worse. No.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. Don't forget to please like the podcast. Please subscribe to the channel if you have not done so. We would appreciate that very, very much. And we will see you on Thursday. Mwah. Goodbye.
See ya.
Well, nobody's even sure this is rock and roll.